I think we know how to solve the economic crisis at the present, but we don't know how to solve it with the consent of our people because they don't trust us. And you see that very clearly in Greece. Don't imagine you won't see it. Haven't seen it already in Britain. You're seeing a collapse of the centre in politics. You're seeing a rise of the right and the left. Marine Le Pen, the Tea Party, Syriza in Greece, Mr. Galloway here, UKIP. And I think unless politicians recognize that the issue is not just about reforming their behaviour. God knows one of the features and contributing factors to this is the fact that all the things that we as members of the public thought we could trust, politicians, bankers, journalists, have now proved to be completely untrustworthy. But we have to do more than that. We have to change the structure of government. We have to hand power back from the state to the local community so that they can do more and take their decisions for themselves. But the local community, the local government has to think about how it restructures government as well. My conclusion was, as you recall in watching my speech, that in 1832, the British political system decided that in order to avoid the revolution, it needed a Great Reform Act. And the fact that you had a Great Reform Act saved Britain from the 1848 revolutions that swept the rest of Europe. We need another. The problem with our state is two things. First of all, it doesn't recognise that to get things done for the people of the country, you can almost do none of them at the level of the nation state. They have to be working with nations above the level of the nation state. Not crime, not defence, not economies, not jobs. All of these require you working with others in the international sphere. So some of the powers of the nation state must be pooled above the level of the nation state in order to deliver to our citizens what they want. The question is, how do you make that democratic? But the second thing you have to do is you have to build intermediary institutions between the distant citizen and an out-of-touch and arrogant state. And it's those intermediary institutions that give citizens much more control over the decisions that affect their lives. What it amounts to is this, is that Westminster, the state-level government, does far less. It does only those things that are necessary for the state, defence, foreign affairs, economy, and the intermediary institutions, which will govern the services delivered to the citizen, health, education, welfare, can take far greater decisions themselves about what kind of way they want those to be delivered. It's about redistributing the powers of the nation state, some upwards to an international level, so you could say it's internationalist too. It's finding a more sensible balance of power between the individual citizen who has freedom and governs their life on the internet and is treated seriously in the marketplace, and a distant political institution that interferes in their lives, doesn't know their conditions, is arrogant, is ignorant, and as we recently see, is often worse than that. They could be, those are some of them, and I think it's very appropriate that Nick Clegg should have encouraged that today, talked to a way to do that today, but it doesn't end there. The government, it seems to me, have got hold of an idea. It's a right idea, but their version of it is a very small one. Mr. Cameron talks about the big society. For him, that's about distributing goodwill. No, it's not. It's about something much more fundamental than that, and something that requires much more courage on the part of our national politicians than that. It's about distributing power. Yeah, councils will be a part of that. Councils are indeed part of our intermediary institutions. In far too many cases, councils have been reduced down to the level of the land agent for Westminster. What they need to have is the power to take decisions and the power to raise money, because if you don't have the second, you don't effectively have the first. But it's much more than that. What I'm saying to local government as well, you have to change as well. Remember, you're not the only players. If we simply shifted power from Whitehall to Town Hall, we'd do almost nothing. What we have to do is revolutionise the way we do government. And here's the central thing. Government today should be less about delivering and more about acting as a network enabler, more about bringing others into the process of delivery, NGOs, non-governmental organisations, non-profit organisations, the private sector. And the government that actually works effectively is the one that realises that it is going to be in the modern age less a doer and more a network enabler.